At this moment, I am unable to separate the conceptions of ethics present in Jan Holmvik's intervention from the current political climate and the midterm elections. Every news channel is broadcasting live coverage, with ticker tape updates running constantly across the bottom of the screen. The coverage feels like I'm watching a game, competitors battling it out, high scores being constantly updated, and I even had the opportunity to participate. The screen is even exciting, with immersive maps, flashing colors, and bold, attention-grabbing headlines. However, in spite of the game-like atmosphere of the television coverage, the coverage itself seeks a serious tone, reflecting Holmvik's concept of negative ethics, which he explains that in its desire for a moral center seeks the end of play. The irony is that the history of play reveals the birth of the unethical impulse, and the literate drive to diminish and end play ultimately becomes the unethical position. The election was heralded by many as the most important election of our generation. In fact, according to many of the candidates and political pundits, the results would be a serious reflection of the moral center of this country. In light of this, I'm drawn to Holmvik's definition of ludic ethics, and how the shift from literacy to electracy could shape not only the coverage of the elections, but the democratic process itself. Holmvik explains that through play, we are inventing a new ethics through the act of ethics, where experiencing outcomes and consequences is the key element. This is not about establishing a universal ethics, but a microethics applied individually. As an experience engine, the game makes possible the move beyond epideictic rhetoric and the topoi of praise and blame toward a new understanding of ethics in an electrate time. Through play, we can experience the consequences of the ethical choices we make. But judging such behavior is not the point. It isn't the point of ludic ethics. This election, according to the coverage, in large part regards the ethics of the nation as a whole, over a universal ethics. But to me, it feels like such a conception of ethics is at risk of being rendered as an abstraction. It too easily becomes a universalized policy instead of an individual practice. This is what I find most fascinating about the concept of ludic ethics, in that instead of being established on principle, they're developed through practice. The key point of the experience of the outcomes and consequences that occurs during gameplay is what is lacking in the proclaimed ethical battle taking place on my television screen. Many people will not directly experience the outcomes and consequences of the ethical decisions they make, at least not in real time on this universal scale. Further complicating this situation is the highly charged epideictic rhetoric. It leaves me wondering, what if we took a more ludic approach and moved beyond the topoi of praise and blame? What if instead we took the hacker approach? What if we looked at our current democracy like an open source system and collaborated to fix the bugs rather than seeing it as a closed system that we've been handed with no other option but to make the most of it and dole out praise and blame since we lack the agency to make the neat changes ourselves? It could end up like Linus Torvalds' babbling bazaar of differing agendas and approaches, out of which a coherent and stable system could seemingly emerge through a succession of miracles, or we could stagnate like the Lambda Mu direct democracy experiment. However, if we embrace ludic ethics and a hacker mentality, we wouldn't have to waste time with praise and blame, but instead could tinker like bricoleurs, intervening in the process of invention as agents in an electrate immer agency.